Можемо починати.
We can start.
Шановні колеги, журналісти,
Dear
партнери,
colleagues,
друзі,
journalists,
сьогодні ми
partners, friends,
презентуємо важливу
today
програму,
we are
яка
presenting an important program which we believe will be a rescue circle for independent regional media in Ukraine, stronger together, media and democracy. This is more than just a support program. This is our joint fight for freedom of speech, quality journalism, and people's right to obtain reliable information even in the most challenging times as we are having now. The program is possible due to NORAD support and Nansen support for Ukraine from Norway. The Stronger Together program, as the Association of Independent Regional Publishers of Ukraine, we are implementing together with partners, Norwegian Association of Media Business, MBL, and Randi, Øgrey, head of the association, is with us, and the Global Association of News Publishers, WAN-IFRA, Melanie Walker, Executive Director for Media Development, is with us as well. Here, during the meeting, we wanted to share details of the program, and you can start asking questions in the comment section on YouTube. We see that the project seems very relevant based on the number of applications that we've received after yesterday's announcement release on the launch of the program. And now I'm happy to introduce to you Randi Øgrey, our partner and the manager of the Association of Media Business of Norway. Randi is not only our partner in Stronger Together program, but also one of founders of the Ukrainian Media Fund. This is the urgent support program from Nordic countries to Ukrainian media. From the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, they have been supporting some of the editorial houses in Ukraine. Randi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that kind introduction. It's really, really great to be here, and I really, really look forward to work even stronger together with AIRPPU and also with local and regional independent media in Ukraine. This is something we've done together, also with our global media association, WAN-IFRA. And it is due to the government program in Norway, Nansen program, which is a part of NORAD, which has, the government and the parliament is using 205 billion kroner due to a period of 7 years to support Ukraine. Of course, most of those fundings are going to military equipment and to social equipment. Of course it does. But also a small but important part will go to support for civil society and to support free and independent media and make sure that we could build and share competence to build editorial media at the local and regional level. Melanie will talk more about the program, but I just want to say from the Norwegian side that we've been so far been happy and lucky to work with you and also having editors visiting Norway and sharing exchanges. And I think that this Stronger Together program actually will build us stronger together and say that Norwegian media, we are ready to work with you and look forward to this Stronger Together program for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Дякую, Ренді, за підтримку не лише українських
Thank you,
медіа.
Randi, for support of not only the Ukrainian media, but for the country's support. Norway is always with us, shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, and we value that, and we are very grateful. The Stronger Together program could not be possible without professional collaboration with our colleagues from the Global Media Association, WAN-IFRA. All the professional challenges faced by our media, especially in the recent 3 years, we've been overcoming together. Due to joint training mentorship programs, we managed to help not only to support resilience, but also to support development of Ukrainian media. Melanie Walker, Executive Director for Media Development, WAN-IFRA.
Thank you so much, Oksana. And let me also add in that we are so honored to be part of this consortium of really what is the global, regional, and national independent media coming together to support independent media in Ukraine, particularly during this time when truth, transparency, anti-corruption, safety, and independent financial resilience is so crucial for the long-term survival of media in Ukraine. I think, especially in the weeks and months to come, the importance of having the continued contribution of independent media regionally, locally, and nationally to be monitoring, informing, and also serving as platforms for debate for Ukrainian citizens is essential. And we are grateful that NORAD, through the Nansen program, has recognized that independent media is an essential component of civil society and strengthening civil society. This program will target 3 core areas over the next 3 years to strengthen independent media in Ukraine. The first focuses on financial independence and viability. This will be administered through a combination of institutional support, which is even more essential now with the cessation of other forms of support that have come through in an emergency context to support Ukrainian media. It will also come through the support of capacity building when it comes to actually planning for long-term business strategy, fundraising, and all the essential ingredients that will be required for the independent media in Ukraine to rebuild its financial resilience as markets come back, as we envision altogether Ukraine returns to everyday normalcy. The second component will focus on investigative journalism and strengthening investigative journalism capacity within newsrooms at the leadership level, as well as down through to the storytelling, to ensure that those powers that be are held to account, that anti-corruption, that transparency, and all of the values that liberal democracy and human rights uphold are supported. And this will be done again through a series of grants. There will be investigative grants as well as mentoring support at the editorial level. A third component will focus on strengthening the leadership skills and capacity of women leaders in newsrooms. Many individuals have had to step up to lead their news companies as other parties have gone to support the war directly. We want to strengthen that function throughout and also continue to focus on creating organizations that are safe and inclusive, because that matters to us and is a key value as we hold within the framework of human rights and democracy. Throughout, and perhaps in part because we are trade associations, membership associations that value the connections that are made between independent media to support each other, and peer mentoring and building those professional networks is an essential tool to actually strengthen the ecosystem as a whole. We will be emphasizing those networks and peer mentoring throughout. And this will be a component that will really be led by our partner MBL through the support that Norwegian media have demonstrated since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion to support their peers in Ukraine and to exchange ideas and support. And so that will be a thread that we will continue throughout, and we hope to also strengthen those bilateral relationships as well. Again, this will be a 3-year program. We will have open call for applications. We will be aiming to work with up to 65 media, depending on the different strains. All the information is in the very detailed application form that we have circulated when we made the announcement, and we will also make available again. And we will be individually assessing each application based on its merit. I'll stop there. Oksana, please do jump in if I have forgotten anything. Same Randi, but let me just also say how thrilled we are to be part of this program and what gratitude we have for Norway and Nansen for giving this opportunity for us to support our peers in Ukraine.
Дуже дякую, Мелані.
Thank you,
Розповіла,
Melanie.
основні
You have
складові нашої
covered
програми.
the
Зараз
main
невелике
components of
зауваження.
the
У нас
program.
зараз повітряна тривога.
And
Сподіваюся,
let
що
me just mention that we have air raid alert now, so hopefully everyone is safe now, or please move to safe places
продовжити спілкування і в
to
ефір.
continue
Ми ж продовжуємо.
the communication and the broadcast. So let me summarize and maybe share more details about the program. Stronger Together comprises anticipates support for up to 65 regional and local media in Ukraine. This is extremely important because local independent media are so important for the communities. This is a tool to fight propaganda and disinformation. And local investigations are very important for controlling local authorities. Who we are going to support? Independent regional and local media. We see that we are receiving questions about details about the legal form of the media that can be supported. Basically, it can be any entity allowed by the Ukrainian legislation. But these are legal entities, right? These are not individual entrepreneurs, only legal entities. So the applicants who are eligible are legal entities who represent independent regional or local media. During the 3 years, we will be providing support, as Melanie has mentioned, the 3 pillars: institutional development, capacity building, and this is mostly focused on smaller entities, up to 10 people in the team. Support for the investigative journalism. Here we mostly focus on higher capacity media and that can develop at the level of at the regional level this work, and support for gender equality, inclusive approach for development of leadership skills and career coaching of women who are leaders of regional media. Now about the format of support. These are going to be grants for capacity building, grants for investigations at the regional level, mentorship, expert support, exchange of experience, participation in professional conferences. So this is a multi-component program which contains also the training component, support component, and the financial component, which for our media is so important. Let me remind you that you now can ask your questions in the chat, and I will continue speaking about how to submit the applications. Yesterday, after the announcement, we received already more than 20 applications. The template is quite detailed and extensive, but it is required so that we could, to the extent possible, be responsible and accountable in selecting the media to be supported. So you will need at least 1 hour to fill out the template, and the link for participation form is included in our yesterday's public announcements. Today we will also publish those, and we will remind you where it is possible to submit the participation in the program. And the deadline Well, we will accept the applications before the 31st of March, because in April we have already planned first activities, so it makes sense that we try to set up to form the pool of media within this concise terms that we will then start working with. Let me remind you that these are regional or local media companies, printed media, online news rooms or projects. When filling out the applications, since this template is extensive, you will be in the position basically to save the template and come back and fill it out, complete filling out a bit later. The system saves the data, the information, but after you have completed all the questions, please do not forget to not only save it, but also send it. After you've done that, you will see the respective indication on your screen, which says that your application has been submitted. It means that you've submitted it and we've received it. Until when it's possible to submit the applications, again, before the 31st of March. Whether an NGO or a sole proprietor, an individual entrepreneur can apply. Not an individual entrepreneur, no, and not individual journalists or employees of media companies. These are supposed to be legal entities only. An NGO, if an NGO can apply, yes. If the NGO is one of those organizations that has comprises an independent regional media. What kind of activities are planned in the framework of the program after you complete the selection process? We will start selection process immediately, and we will try to categorize, to group the applications for institutional support, capacity building, or maybe you need support for development of investigative journalism. So we will start working on the financial grant component for the selected participants. And in April, we will start with our first activities. The first group of participants will visit the Global Media Congress WAN-IFRA that in early May will take place in Krakow. And this is going to be the first professional group event where the selected participants, representatives of the newsrooms will be able to go. If it is possible to apply for support for the media that are relocated from temporarily occupied territories, relocated media. Right, if you are Ukrainian regional local media, of course, you can apply, and these are some of those media companies that we are targeting. Then I see a question in English. What kind of investigations are going to be supported? Should this be a long-term investigative project? And whether it will be possible to get support for development of this field of activities in regional media outlet. Well, the type of investigation, we do not basically interfere into coordination of what content that's going to be, or whether it's going to be a long-term project or not. So we will support regional investigations. If that the team of journalists will require more time, that's going to be a long-term investigative project, maybe not, but there will be certain criteria, a certain number of investigations that we would expect would be ready during the year. And again, this is about not project-based short-term support. This is long-term support. for at least 1 year, the participants will get the support. And if we see that the cooperation is developing well, and if it is still required, these media outlets will be supported next year as well. Maybe some outlets will migrate from capacity building pillar to investigative journalism, for example. But all of that is not so much about support of a specific individual investigation or a project. This is about long-term support, 1 year minimum, 3-year maximum. When will you announce results of the selection process? Well, since we have, of course, are very much focused on the first event that is going to happen in early May, we will try to, as soon as possible, come to an agreement and select the media to participate in the project. And we hope that it's going to happen somewhere in mid-April. But we will keep you informed, and definitely we will publish the list of participants selected. But please pay your attention to that. Since the time frame is quite concise, we won't be able to communicate with all the applicants. But definitely, if the decision is positive, we will contact the selected outlets and we will then start our collaboration. Whether there will be mentorship support for investigative projects. Yes, thank you for that question. It's not only about mentorship. We will also create investigative boot camps. We will have regular group meetings for investigative journalists where we will spend several days with international Ukrainian mentors. We will work on certain topics, principles of work. So this comprises both individual support and group work. So the AIRPPU alert is stopped. Sorry, it interfered the sound. Then what does it mean? Full organizational assessment. This is the first step for submission of the application. Well, yes, you quote what we indicate in the preamble of the application to participate in the project. Well, this is basically about the application as such. After you have filled out the application, you will see a lot of questions about your outlet, about your internal policies and procedures, gender balance in your team, financial status, challenges, strategic, tactical challenges. And that's the evaluation that we are going to conduct based on this application. So it's important to fill out the application in a very diligent, responsible way to provide truthful, reliable information, because based on that, we will make the decision whether you will participate in the project or not, and if yes, what pillar we would be ready to suggest to you. However, at the end of that application, we ask you to choose your priority pillar: capacity building, investigative journalism. There will be other elements, whether you need to participate in our project where we support gender equality and inclusiveness. So inclusion. So you can combine the options. Basically, in your application, you can indicate that you would opt for 2 options: capacity building and gender and inclusion, or investigative journalism, gender inclusion. So, but you cannot choose capacity building and investigative journalism simultaneously, while you can combine the other to indicate 2. Whether one company that includes several representative offices in different regions submit individual separate applications for outlets in different regions, or should it be one application from the head office? Well, and we expect for application from regional media. This is quite a specific situation because we will need to analyze it on the ad hoc basis. If it is a regional medium that works in a specific region, but within that group, there are also regional media outlets that work in other regions, then the application needs to be submitted for each of these regional media. And it is important that the application needs to be submitted by the authorized individual of the legal entity, preferably CEO, Director General, Manager, Program Manager. So whoever has the authority, one individual representing one media company is supposed to fill out one application. So please try to avoid the application because that will complicate the selection and the identification process where we receive several applications filled out by different individuals but representing the same medium. So please make sure that your top manager fills out the application. Clarification question. If during 2 weeks we have not heard from you, does it mean that the application was not accepted? Well, I wouldn't be that categorical. Well, this is a living process. Maybe during April, you can expect a positive feedback at any time. In May, of course, most likely, if you have not received any feedback from us, most likely you have not been accepted. Whether smaller outlets, less than 10 people can participate in investigative journalism training. Right, I emphasize that mostly we would consider teams less than 10 people for capacity building and more than 10 people for investigations, but we know examples where there are few people in the team, but they may be ambitious, they may already have good results. So for us, the priority, apart from the independent nature of the media, would be motivation of the media. So if you have a team, a journalist ready to pursue investigative journalism, we will definitely support you and provide mentorship support, and we will support you financially with grants and organizational, institutionally with training programs. Another question I see. If we also have a national newspaper, but we are a regional outlet, whether it is possible then to support this important national publication. Well, Stronger Together program is only targeted at local and regional media. This is the specific feature of the program. We could see from the very beginning of the full-scale invasion how huge the gap is between providing support for national media and smaller outlets who, however, do a lot of important work, no matter whether they are close to the front line or to the occupied territories, or if they work for local communities farther from the front line. So the focus of this program is going to be regional and local media, not national ones. If it is possible to edit an application that has already been submitted. I guess no. Maybe colleagues can help me. Well, most likely not, I guess. And yes, they say that technically it's not possible, colleagues say. So you would need to resubmit. And then if you resubmit an application, please notify us in the comment section. Then we would delete the previous application and we will focus on the newer one. So please let us know in a way convenient for you. for us to know which version to consider. In the release, you can see the email strongertogether@gmail.com, so you can contact our team, you can ask questions, clarification questions if something is not covered today or if something arises further
Наступне
on.
питання, що ми ще маємо. Уточніть, які саме медіа
So,
можуть подати
which
заявку
kinds of
саме на
media can
інвестиційний
apply
грант?
for the
Які
capacity
вимоги до
building grant?
учасників?
What are the
А,
eligibility
Знову ж
criteria?
таки, що вже кілька
Well,
разів
again,
озвучували,
as we have already
основні
mentioned,
вимоги це має бути
the
регіональне
key
або
criteria.
локальне місцеве
This is going
медіа.
to be a
Не має
regional
бути
or local
незалежне медіа, тобто не під
media
впливом впливу
outlet,
місцевих
independent
бізнесів,
outlet that is
олігархів.
not influenced by
Це має
political
бути
groups,
медіа,
local
яке
businesses,
дотримується
oligarchs.
професійних
The
стандартів.
outlet needs to
Це
comply
має
with
бути
professional
вмотивоване
standards,
медіа, яке
motivated team
планує і готове, команда якого готова
plans
включатися в роботу
where the team
разом і працювати.
is ready to step
Це має
in
бути
and to
зареєстровано
work
відповідно
together,
до українського
registered
законодавства.
according to the
Юридична
Ukrainian
особа,
legislation, a legal
підкреслюю, ми не
entity,
працюємо з
because we
фізичними
do not
особами.
work
Ми
with
можемо підтримати
individuals,
інша
as
організаційно-правова
let
форма,
me
чи
reiterate,
товариство з обмеженою відповідальністю,
you should be a limited liability
приватне
company
підприємство,
or
група,
a
чи
company,
неприбуткова
private
організація, чи
company,
громадська
non-for-profit
організація, яка
organization,
є
NGO
видавцем
that
незалежного регіонального
publishes
медіа. Це, напевно,
independent regional
от
media.
основні
I believe that these are key requirements
є в рамках програми до
that we have in the framework of the
менторська
program.
підтримка надається лише
Mentorship
для
support,
розслідування?
is it
Ні.
only provided for
Інституційна
investigative
підтримка
journalism?
і
No.
напрямок посилення
Capacity building,
редакцій в
institutional
цьому напрямку
support,
це теж комплексний напрямок.
that's
Сюди
also
входить
a
не лише
comprehensive
грантова
pillar. I mean,
фінансова
this
підтримка,
includes not
яка
only
триває
grant,
на
financial support,
для того, щоб
long-term
допомогти
support
більш-менш
to
вашій
help
фінансовій стабільності. Сюди
and
будуть входити
support
також
your
і
financial
навчальні
stability.
програми.
It's
Ми
going
разом з
to
вами
also
будемо
include training programs.
підбирати найбільш
Together
гостро
with
саме
you,
для
we will
відібраних учасників теми, проблеми,
pick up the
і по
topics
ним
that are
будемо
most relevant for the
допомагати і
participants
менторами,
selected, and there
експертами,
we will
досвідом.
provide
Одна із
assistance
наших
with our mentors,
партнерських
experts,
організацій
experience. One of
являється
our
Норвезька
partnership
асоціація
organizations is
медіабізнесу.
Norway,
Більшість
Norwegian
норвезьких, або
Association of
всі
Media
норвезькі
Business. I
медіакомпанії
believe that
готові
all
ділитися своїм
media
найкращим
outlets in
досвідом,
Norway are ready to share their best
і
practices
що і вміннями. Та окрім того,
and
WAN-IFRA,
skills.
лідер нашого консорціуму,
Moreover,
у них теж
WAN-IFRA,
доступ
the
до
leader
найкращих
of the
професійних
consortium, also have access to the
знань,
best
навичок,
professional
і це
expertise,
все
knowledge,
запрошення ми будемо
skills.
надавати
And of
по
course, we
обох
will
програмах,
provide
і по
all of that
програмі
in the
підтримки
framework of the
журналістських
both
розслідувань,
pillars,
і по
support
програмі
for
підтримки
investigative
інституційного
journalism
розвитку.
and
Але це
capacity
будуть
building.
різні
But these
навчальні,
are going to
менторські
be
програми.
different
Вони не
training
будуть
and mentorship
однаковими.
programs. They will not be
Щодо
overlapping.
розслідувань, конкретне практичне
Regarding
запитання,
investigations,
звітність по
specific
розслідуваннях буде
question,
щомісяця. Чи
whether
буде
we will need
визначена
to
кількість
report on
матеріалів?
investigations on the
Так, ми
monthly
плануємо
basis, and
визначити
if there is
кількість
any
матеріалів. Вона буде
threshold, the
встановлена на рік.
amount of material
Ми
developed.
очікуємо
Yes, we are
отримати
planning to set
близько
some
6 розслідувань
target,
на рік.
annual
Це
target. We
потрібно ту
expect
грантову
about
підтримку,
6
яку буде
investigations
забезпечувати
annually
для
with the
команд,
grant
які
support
будуть
that we
займатися
will provide for the
розслідуваннями.
teams who will conduct the
Щомісячної звітності
investigations.
тут, очевидно, не
And
буде.
for
Це
monthly
звітність
reporting,
за
obviously, no.
розслідування, та, за
That's going to be reports on investigations,
Чи
on
можуть
the
медіа з
investigative
фокусом на
projects.
війну
Whether
подаватися на
media that are focused
підтримку?
on the war
Мені
can
здається, зараз
apply for
немає
support.
медіа,
Well, I
які
believe that
своїм
now we don't
контентом не зачіпало, не покривало і не
even have
висвітлювало
any
теми
outlets
війни.
that would not cover
Це наше
war-related
життя
topics.
з вами
That's
зараз.
our
Тому,
life.
звісно, ніяких обмежень,
So, of
жодних
course,
обмежень
there are no
з
limitations
приводу
content-wise
специфіки контенту чи напрямку
or
контенту ми
the
не робимо.
area in which you work,
Єдине
which you cover.
зауваження, що це не
The
мають
only
бути
comment is that
медіа,
these
це мають
are not
бути
going to be
новинні,
sheer
інформаційні, онлайн
entertainment
чи
media.
інформовані
These are
медіа.
going to be
Від
news
чого саме залежить розмір гранту? Чи це буде
media.
фіксований бюджет? Чи в
What
кожному випадку
does
це
the amount of the grant
індивідуальна
depend on? Is it a
ситуація?
fixed budget or it is analyzed and decided ad hoc? This is the same amount of grants because we expect that we will have more or less homogeneous groups to work with. So the amount of grants for the outlets will be the same and they will not depend on individual circumstances, fixed budget. If it is an online outlet, whether it needs to be registered as a media company. Well, in the framework of the program, we support all media that are registered and act according to the Ukrainian legislation. If now in Ukraine we have mandatory requirement for registration for printed media, then this printed media need to be registered. If there is no such mandatory requirement for online media, we do not request that. So our requirements are no different from the legislative situation, from the legislation and what is required according to the Ukrainian legislation. Whether in the framework of this initiative it is planned that Ukrainian journalists will cooperate with international experts. Yes, sure. This is what is planned at quite profound, deep level with Nordic colleagues, Norwegian experts and mentors, people from other countries. We are going to pick up the media that that we will cooperate with, that's most relevant. But considering that one of our partner organizations is the Norwegian Association, of course, we will try to communicate to the extent possible with Norwegian media as well. How is it possible to replace something, to amend the application, to change an application? As we mentioned, you can write to our email, stronger-together-WAN-IFRA.org. This is the email that you can see in our releases, press releases on the website of the association, WAN-IFRA, in our mailing lists. If you have not yet received that, after the press conference, we will come up with a quick, frequently asked question one-pager, and we will indicate there the email where you can send your questions or request amendments in this application, not to redo that again, because it is quite a long process. You will require, as I mentioned, about 1 hour to fill out the application. Sorry, we know that now there are a lot of applications to be filled out, but for us to ensure quality cooperation and quality evaluation of every organization, we have to do that. Another question: is it possible to cooperate with other regional media for joint projects? We do not see why this would be a problem. Yes, of course, regional media can cooperate. I mean, maybe I don't quite understand what you imply there. If you mean that if it is possible to join efforts and receive one grant for several legal entities, no. We select one outlet, one legal entity behind that. That's who is supposed to apply. Whether media that have not received the grant anyway participate in trainings and workshops? No. We are planning to work with the teams that will be selected for the project, so all the program will be targeted for their particular needs. The number of participants from each media may differ, and the media, your managers can basically decide who participates in certain workshops, boot camps, or study tours. That's up to the outlet. So we pick up the outlet, the medium, and who represents that outlet. That's a managerial question, which is the decision that is made in your outlet by your manager. So it can be the entire team, it can be just some people. These people may be varied, may change depending on the context. How many mentors per one media, and who are going to be those mentors? People from the media or from other sectors? Our mentors, our experts are professional media experts. They are not just lecturers. Well, I understand what is behind that question. Look, our mentors, they are practitioners who work in the media, who do that on the daily basis and who face the same challenges as you and us, except for maybe the greatest challenge of the war that we have as a priority here. But how to attract young audience with quality content, how to develop YouTube, what to do around social media, how to develop platforms, what to do around AI, and how to work with it at a due quality level, quality of content. These are all the paywalls, how to work with that, and how to get ready for the launch. So these are all the questions that are relevant for the colleagues who will participate in our projects and mentorship programs in the course of our cooperation within the program. Whether outlets can work with freelance journalists in the framework of the project. Don't quite understand this question. So if you are asking about outlets and who will be included into the pillar of journalism investigation, well, it's up to you to decide if you involve freelancers. But of course, we would welcome if you develop this sector, this section within your team in-house. It is important for us to develop the network of local media who would conduct journalism, investigative journalism. That's important for us because we started, we were dealing with that even before the beginning of the full-scale invasion, but we know that it is quite difficult to make sure that you have a quality investigator in your team. So the goal of the project is to create this capacity, help you create this capacity. So cooperation of the team with a freelancer in the framework of an investigative project, well, that's possible. But the main objective of this work is to enhance your outlet, that you have the skill, this expertise in-house, that you have that, and further on after the project is over, that you have that as a part of your routine process.
Якщо редакція не має стратегічного планування, а редакційну політику якраз
an outlet doesn't have strategic planning, we are now only developing our editorial policy. Should we apply? And does it make sense for us to apply? Well, don't be afraid of our questions. It's not just to kind of reject you. This is for assessing your needs. This is not the main thing. The most important thing is that we see your demand. If you are now developing your editorial policy, it is not a reason not to apply. So if you are independent, if you correspond to the other criteria, we will be happy to work with you and help you launch in your, have that in your outlet, not as just a formal document on your website, but as a practical tool for your work, daily activities, and to protect you. If an online media is registered for an individual entrepreneur, but we are planning to apply from an NGO, is it required that the NGO is the founder? Well, that's a legal question. The NGO is supposed to have to be legally linked with the media. How you are linked? Well, that's a legal question. Let us not go into detail on, because forms of interaction could be different. This could be cooperation agreements, whatever. I wouldn't like to limit it by listing something, but we will analyze each of such cases on the case-by-case basis. This is not a problem. The main thing is that you need to show this connection, that this outlet is linked with the respective legal entity that's applying. Regarding insurance of journalists, we have not yet used that, but we saw information about insurance project. Is it included into the program? No, insurance of journalists is not included into Stronger Together. This is another project that the association is implementing. We provide free of charge insurance for the teams that go to the front line. You can see more details on the website. So take care and use the insurance unless you have done that already, but this goes beyond the scope of this program. Tell us more about the third pillar, gender and inclusion. That's a good question. Melanie, maybe you would like to step in and to comment on that. WAN-IFRA there plays an important role in the market. With WAN-IFRA, we started collaborating during the first year of the full-scale invasion with the project Women and Youth, supporting women in the media. So maybe, Melanie, you could step in and comment on that pillar.
Certainly, and I didn't catch the specific question, but I'm happy to provide additional details around what we aim to achieve and will focus on in that specific pillar of support, which really does target senior editorial leadership and will approach diversity and inclusion in two direct ways. The first is to build the strategies, the networks, as well as the competencies of individual editors to take on more senior leadership, to grow their media, to feel that they are connected into a larger, broader community. The WIN community is a global community within the WAN-IFRA global community. And so we'll really be emphasizing facilitating those connections. We'll also be working with each and every one of the partners that is engaged with us throughout the 3 years in our other program areas, whether it be the financial sustainability or the investigative journalism, to ensure that from an organizational culture point of view, we are helping to create safe and inclusive spaces. And so in that capacity, we will be engaging with top management as well as newsroom staff to ensure that the protocols and policies are in place so that every individual feels they can bring their whole selves to their workplace and feels safe doing so.
Дякую, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. And I guess the last question is linked to what Melanie has now shared. So
Ви можете, якщо медіа проходить у
If
програму по якомусь одному
media
напрямку,
is
наприклад,
admitted to the
освіта,
program
чи можна
for one
змінювати
pillar, for
напрям
example,
до inclusion?
investigations,
Чи це
if it
на
is
3
possible to
роки
change that
змінювати?
for inclusion, or
3
shall
роки
we
це
need to
тривалість
stay in the
вашої
same pillar for
програми.
3 years? Well,
Ми
look, 3
підбираємо
years,
на
that's
перший
duration
рік
of
співпраці.
the program.
Ймовірність,
We
що буде
select the
зміна
outlets for the
напрямку
first
на
year of
наступний рік,
cooperation.
вона є, але не
It
є
is quite
обов'язковою.
possible that next
Ви
year it will be
можете
possible to
обрати
change the
2
pillar, but that's
напрямки
not
за
a
один раз,
mandatory
як я вже
thing as
зазначила.
well. And as I
Або
mentioned, you can
інституційний розвиток
opt
і
for two
гендерний,
pillars
або
simultaneously.
освітлений і
This is
гендерний,
institutional
просто
development
інституційний
and
розвиток,
gender,
або просто
investigation and
розслідувальний,
gender,
або просто
or
гендерний.
the first,
Кілька
second,
опцій,
and
по
third
котрим ви можете зробити
separately.
вибір.
So
Цей
there are
вибір
several
вам
options
потрібно
where you can make a
зробити
choice.
в формі наприкінці,
And
коли ви заповните
you need
всю
to make this
заявку,
choice
вони
in the
заставлять
form
питань,
at
буде
the very
саме
end
про це.
after you've filled out
Оберіть,
the
будь
application.
ласка,
There will be this
2 з
question.
перелічених
Please
напрямків.
pick up two of
Тому
the
обирайте,
pillars
вони не є
in the list.
взаємовиключними. Саме
So
в цій
they are not
комбінації, яку я зараз
mutually
описала.
exclusive in the
Скажімо,
combinations
виключним
as I have
напрямком є
mentioned.
лише інституційний
Mutually
розвиток
exclusive,
і
that would be
розслідувальницький
only
напрямок.
capacity
Це 2
building and
виключні. Їх
investigative
водночас
journalism.
обрати не можна.
You
Тому
cannot opt for both at the same time.
ось так, якщо є бажання
That's
працювати із
how it
інституційним
is.
розвитком,
If you wish to work
освітленським і
with
гендерним,
institutional
це саме
development,
те, що
capacity
ми будемо
building, or
щасливі просто
investigations,
вам
or gender
надати і
and
забезпечити.
inclusion, we will be happy to provide you with our support.
Колеги, дякую.
So,
Бачу,
colleagues,
що
thank you
цікавість
so
велика
much.
така.
I see that the level of
Всі
interest
питання
is
ми
high and there are
можемо
more
покрити,
questions.
не
Maybe
зможемо
we
в
have
рамках
not
цієї прес-конференції,
managed to
але
cover
залюбки
all
на
the
них
questions in
відповімо.
the framework of
Ми
this press conference, but
публікуємо
we will
на
be happy
нашому
to
сайті
follow.
сьогодні
And on our
питання і
website,
відповіді,
we
які
will
зараз прозвучали.
publish
Продублюємо
the
електронну
Q&A
форму, по
session
котрій можна звернутися для
summary,
того, щоб
and
щось
also you will see
уточнити.
the
Мені здається,
email
загалом
where you
вже
can contact us to
все
clarify something. But
описали,
I believe that
проговорили.
we have
Хочеться
discussed
так
most
на
of
завершення
the
озвучити,
questions. And just to summarize,
сказати від себе.
to wrap up,
Для
let
мене
me
є відчуття, що це
say
не
that
лише
I
для
personally, I
виживання
feel
нас
that this
всіх
is not
і для
only
виживання
about
українських
survival
регіональних
of
медіа.
all of us, of
Це
Ukrainian regional
програма
media,
про наше
but this
майбутнє.
is a program about
Про
our
силу нашої
future,
з вами незалежної
about the
журналістики,
strength,
про
power of our
підтримку,
independent
яку ми
journalism,
отримуємо
about the
від
support that
міжнародних колег.
we
І
receive
про
from
нашу незламну
international
рішучість
colleagues, and
продовжувати
about our
працювати проти повітряної
resolute
тривоги, котрі навіть зараз були під час прес-конференції.
keeping
Попри
working
обстріли, через
despite
котрі
the
нам
air raid
приходиться
alerts as it has
змінювати
just happened,
якийсь час
despite the
зустрічей чи
attacks
переносити
where
на
we
інший
need
час
to
наші воркшопи.
shift our
Але попри
meetings or
те,
to
ми з
move
вами
our
і
workshops
біжимо,
to
і
other
стрибаємо,
places.
і летимо
However,
вперед,
we are heading
професійно в тому
forward
числі. Сильніші
professionally.
ми разом, саме
We are
тому ми і
stronger
обрали
together.
назву
That's why
цій
the
програмі.
title of this
Дякуємо вам
program.
всім за
And
увагу.
thank you so much
На
for
цьому
your
наша
attention.
прес-конференція
Here we
завершена.
end
Дуже буду
our
рада
press
бачити
conference, and I
вас
will be
серед
very happy to
учасників
see you
протягом
among
наступних 3
participants
років.
in the next
На
3
все добре.
years.